Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Fit and Fresh Life podcast, where together we'll be exploring the science of you. I'm your host, Natalie Marie Collins, and I invite you to join me on this journey as we discover who it is you really are, how you're designed to operate in this world, and how to balance it all. We're going to be exploring eating, exercise, daily habits, running a business, and more through things like the elements, human design, and Ayurveda, so you can learn what's right for you. Then helping you break it all down into simple, practical ways so you can use it in your everyday business and life so you can become the healthiest, happiest version of yourself. As a side note, this podcast is not intended to be medical advice. With that, I'm so excited that you're here, ready to explore this fascinating world of ancient wisdom, New Age thoughts, and modern science with me. Before we really dive into what all of this means, I want to give you a little bit of background about who I am so that you have an understanding about where this information is coming from and where it stems from, and where this fascination stems from as well. So back in 2010, I accidentally became a raw vegan for 2 years. How that happened is I was overweight, I wasn't happy in my skin, and I really didn't recognize the person who I thought I was in the mirror anymore. And it was really disheartening to just get up and look at myself. And I knew that that wasn't a healthy way of thinking or viewing myself, and I wanted to really just start getting off the yo-yo diets and find something that really, truly worked for me. And I ended up picking up this book that in the first chapter was all about this lady's experience with becoming raw and turning her family raw and how green smoothies started it all. And this whole book had a whole bunch of green smoothie recipes in it. And I decided that it didn't sound so bad. It was things like spinach and apples and strawberries mixed in with spinach and blended all together to where the fruits actually counterbalanced the bitterness of the greens and made it into a more fruit type smoothie. And I was like, you know what? That actually sounds pretty good. I think I will give it a try. And so I did. And about 2 weeks later, so what I did actually is I drank green smoothies every morning for breakfast. And I did this. And 2 weeks later, I got to work one day. And this was when I was working in corporate America. And I went to the cabinet and I grabbed my normal, little Hershey Kisses and those little miniature chocolate bars and whatnot. And I popped one in my mouth. And all of a sudden, it didn't taste nearly as good as it had the day before. And it was really weird because all of a sudden it didn't have that underlying satisfying feeling that I was used to chocolate giving me. And I realized that it really didn't taste that good. And my taste buds had changed. And I was like, what is happening to my body? And I knew. So there was this part of me that still wanted to eat the chocolate. And then there was this other part of me that was like, no, Natalie, this is a good thing. Like, you don't want to eat the chocolate anyways. So let's just go with it. So it's like, that's rational. I'll go with it. And so I just started really listening to what my body wanted me to eat now that my taste buds were changing. And I was really craving things like more salads and even like sandwiches, but like the healthy ones and just like a healthier foods. And one day I went home and I made lasagna for dinner and I sat there and I didn't really want the pasta and I didn't really want the meat. And I ended up with like cheese and sauce and I didn't even really want the cheese. And I just ended up with sauce and I was like, what is the point? And so it was a couple weeks after that I discovered a 5-day raw food challenge. And I was like, well, you know what? At that point in my journey, I was already doing breakfast as raw with the green smoothies. And I was doing lunch raw because I was craving salads and wanted salads all the time. And I was like, what's raw for dinner too for 5 days? So I decided to jump in and do it. And about 2 days into this raw food 100% raw food for 5 days thing, I woke up and I had the most amazing, clarity and energy and just vital, magical feeling coursing through my veins. And I was like, oh my gosh, for the first time in my life, I felt like I was truly happy and healthy for the first time ever. And I knew that I needed to do this, at least for the foreseeable future. And I ended up doing 100% raw food diet for 2 years. And it was during this 2-year experience, I had such a complete life-changing experience, because all of a sudden I was cleaning my entire system out, and I was getting in touch with the vibration of foods, and it was this really profound experience to start to feel the energy of things and to be awakened to that. And it really started awakening my spiritual journey in that, because I wanted to know what the heck was happening, what was going on, why was I feeling energies around me for the first time ever. And I this awareness really started to blossom and come forth. And so this created this magical childlike wonder that awoken within me. And it was life-changing again, because it was just these huge shifts in awareness. I discovered morning pages inside of the Artist's Way with Julie Cameron, and really started getting in touch and working through these emotions that I had stuffed down with food for so long. And I really started to fall in love with me and who I am, and my potential, and who I could become. And during this time also, I had this very profound experience of knowing and learning that I created my own reality. And this in and of itself was this huge awakening aha moment of, wait, if I didn't like my life how it is now, I have the power to change it. And I was like, let's play with this. I wanted to explore that and really dive into it. And I knew that it was the right way for me to go. So I really started diving into it. I became certified as a raw food nutritionist, and really followed along this path of knowing that I knew that I needed to coach people. And so I started shifting my life in this direction. And during this time, I ended up getting a divorce from my ex-husband and completely shifting my life in that way. And then shortly after that, I met my now husband, Lee, who I'll tell you guys the huge story about this in an upcoming episode, but it was this huge life-changing, shifting moment for me. And he's been an entrepreneur for years. And when I met him, and I was like, oh my gosh, not only are you my soulmate, but you have what I've been looking for as guidance in showing me the right direction on where to go with the life that I want to create. And so all of this really great magical stuff really was happening in my life. And then I ended up getting a really bad upper respiratory infection for 2 weeks. And during this time, I had dropped down to high school skinny. Yay! It was amazing. But also, because I was high school skinny, I didn't have weight to lose. And when I contracted this upper respiratory infection, it was 2 weeks of not really having much of an appetite. And I kind of survived off of protein shakes, and kind of just made myself eat something because I wasn't really hungry, but I knew I needed to eat regardless. And so I ended up just having a lot of protein shakes and lighter foods. And ultimately, I lost 10 pounds in 2 weeks from this. And at that point, I didn't have 10 pounds to lose, and it kind of freaked me out. And so I spent the next month trying to regain this weight, and I couldn't gain it back. So I started to incorporate in cooked foods back into my diet, so that I could gain weight back. And I will say that I successfully gained the weight back and a little bit more. So because of this, since this time, I have been looking and searching for what the balance seemed to be, because as much and how great as I felt on raw foods, there were still a couple key things that were indicators to me that I still hadn't got it quite right, because my hair suffered. I was dry and brittle and wasn't shiny anymore. And I felt like maybe it was an iron deficiency, and I just couldn't quite figure some of that stuff out. There was just a couple little things that would pop up like that. But mainly the hair was the big thing. So I knew that there was still something missing. And so I have been on this journey ever since to discover what it is that I've been missing to really get to optimal health and vitality and feel as great as I did on raw, and also enhance it even more, because I feel like there's been this key thing that I've been missing. And so here recently, I was introduced to the ancient science and wisdom of Ayurveda. So Ayurveda is an ancient Indian teaching, and it's literally translated to the science of life. And what Ayurveda does is it teaches us how to tap into our body's inner pharmacy, our body's inner wisdom, both physical and emotional, and our spiritual well-being. And through something called the doshas, which is the living elements within us, or bioelements, there's vata, which is air and space, pitta, fire and water, and kapha, which is earth and water. And we'll go into that more in a later episode, but I want to introduce you to Ayurveda. So that's one thing that's really, hello kitty, that really has perked my interest, and is really what I want. One of the things that we dive deep and explore in this podcast is the ancient wisdom and science of Ayurveda. And with that, one of the things that I do as a business coach is I help people brand themselves according to their element. And so taking the element of earth, air, fire, and water, and looking at how that energy is expressed through them, through your nature, and then branding them according to their nature, and then taking one more of the modern science, new age thought processes, which is something called human design. And human design, I've been diving into human design for several years now, and this has been a completely life-changing, shifting way of thinking and being in this world. It's how we're designed to operate and interact in the world. So what the human design system says is that it's a synthesis of ancient and modern sciences, and has proven to be a valuable tool for human understanding. With human design, you discover what makes you different from everyone else. It offers profound insights into your psychology, along with strategies and techniques for making correct decisions, and ultimately leading to a life of more ease and fulfillment. Within the human design, it describes 5 different auric types. If you're familiar with the auras, this brings it into a deeper modality of the 5 different types, which is manifestor, generator, manifesting generator, projector, and reflector. And combining human design and Ayurveda and the elements all into this synthesis of beauty is where I really think the magic is going to show up for us in discovering who it is that we are, and how to live this optimal life that we have available to us, that's at our fingertips. And it's been around, Ayurveda has been around for 4,000 or 5,000 years, depending on where you do your research. It says differently. So, but it's been this research, this system that's been around for thousands of years. Human design is actually a very new thought process in bringing in a lot of different modalities of ancient and modern sciences, and bringing them to the forefront of, hey, this is how you're energetically designed to operate in the world and show up and interact. And lo and behold, once I discovered this information, I realized that I was acting completely incorrectly to how I'm actually designed to operate. And it gave me permission to really sink into and learn about who I am, how I'm designed to show up in business and create a business around that, and how to market myself as, and for me, I'm a projector. So was huge, life-changing in and of itself as well. And we'll dive into each one of these types. We'll dive into the elements. We'll dive into Ayurveda. I'm going to be bringing on guest experts as well, because I'm going to dive into this stuff with you. Because the elements in human design, I've been studying very deeply for several years now, and really integrating them into everything that I do and helping people to really step into their design as well. And it's been completely shifting and life-changing in that regard. And then the introduction to Ayurveda, I'm like, all right, there is some stuff here and I'm ready to explore it. And I'm ready to take you on this journey with me. So I'm so excited, again, that you're here. And we'll dive into these in the upcoming episodes. And there's so much for us to talk about in these modalities. Now, if you've ever heard of the elements or human design or Ayurveda and you have questions around this, I would love to hear your questions. It's really easy. All you got to do is send me an email at podcast@fitandfreshlife.com, and I will get the email personally. I'll answer them on the podcast for you. So I will see you in upcoming episodes, and I look forward to chatting with you soon. Bye for now.